Oh, Doc,
Yes.
wonderful to see you. Thank
Well,
you.
lovely to be with you after a very long time. And even virtually is good enough. I mean, it's amazing. You're
It
just,
is.
yeah, you're so full of life, Even when you have a cold or cough or something, you're still
Yeah.
buzzing away.
Well, it's interesting because I was having this conversation with one of my colleagues this morning. It is scientifically proven, isn't it, that when men or male species get unwell, they are impacted 100
Much worse.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
called man flu.
Is it? It, is,
I'm a
so
doctor.
yeah,
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
I do. I don't. But yes. So sadly, earlier this week, Zara had come home feeling particularly unwell. Actually, it was probably over the weekend that she was feeling a bit run down. And I was fine for the first few days. And then yesterday, woke up with a sore throat, done a test, and was all right yesterday. But then today, feel like rubbish, rubbish. So yes, I am using that adrenaline, that energy, that
Yes.
vibe to get through, and I needed a dose of the doctor. Is
But
what I.
despite being a regular doctor, I do believe that your moods affect your immune levels. They definitely do. I mean, on a very serious note, people who fight cancer, men fight cancer, women acknowledge it. There's a slight difference in the genders. And both do well out of it. I mean, there's so many cases of what is called natural healing. But we were naturally healing before doctors were invented. So the body knows how to deal with these things. As I'm seeing you drink fluids, that improves your immunity as well. If you're well hydrated, rested, calm, cool, collected, which you always are, you will get through this quite like that. Also, I take echinacea, the
Yes.
herbal thing that comes from Switzerland, echinacea.
Yes.
It boosts your immune system. I've used it now for 20-25 years.
It's a great remedy. It's a great remedy. These herbal remedies, I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes.
I probably take about half a dozen a concoction
What do you
of
take?
remedies
What's your
from
formula?
so the formula is turmeric tablets,
Right.
it's guarana, it's ginkgo
Ginkgo
biloba.
biloba. Yeah.
It's like all of these, as in I take probably 6 tablets, and then I do take, even though your body probably doesn't need them, I just like topping up with the multivitamin on a daily basis. And then on an eve, around about tea time, I take a Barocca. Sometimes I'll take that Barocca because Barocca has some zinc and magnesium in it, which actually helps you sleep slightly better. So yes, I'm a firm believer in herbal remedies, and whether that is a consumer, sort of, I do so, but whether it's a placebo effect or whether it has some genuine impact.
30% of all drug reaction, even when you take aspirin, which is proven to drop your temperature, proven to take pain away, 30% is placebo. Placebo means I placate, I please. So if 30% is that, the opposite, nocebo. So when you go to the doctor and he or she shake their head and say, oh, it's terrible, it could be this and that, your whole immune system comes down and you say, oh my God, it must be very serious. And how you fight it is very important. There's two sides. There's the thief and there's the policeman. The thief is the virus. The policeman is you. If you're positive, happy, and have a purpose. The other side of it is, if you got a mission like you always have, you're not bothered about these things. You still carry on. If you were in some boring civil servant kind of job, you'd be on 3 days leave today, wouldn't you?
No, I would have been off for like a few months. Is what I would have been. But no, you're right. But there is an element to that, and I don't. I mean, for the purposes of clarity, not every single civil service job I imagine is
No,
boring, but quite a lot of
but I'm
them
just
are
using a
potentially.
stereotype.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I appreciate that, and I just one of just on that note, Doc, one of my experiences, just to bring that point to life, was when I finished my education here, I went off to London and worked for the British Council at Spring Gardens, right next to Trafalgar Square, Admiralty Arch, beautiful location, civil service. And I would go in there as an evaluation officer, and I'd go in there, and I'd always get there early. I'd go to the desk, I'd sit at the desk for about 10, 15 minutes, go down to the canteen, have some toast, come back up, then go for a break, and then come back up. And then it was just the most boring. There was nothing for me to do.
Exactly.
1 week a month, when I would get the evaluation questionnaires and evaluate programs and impact and compile reports and send them up. And I used to sit there and I'd go, other people would be going, it's a great job. And, getting paid £7-8 an hour when the average age was like £1 was just like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy, right? But I couldn't do it. I just, my whole outlook was I'd rather be sort of in a coal mine. Like, seriously, I'd rather.
Yeah, I believe you. I know you long enough to believe you.
For me, it's not about mental. I do enjoy mental stimulation, but physical stimulation does me just as well, right? As in, it's like if I'm building things, if I'm sticking on sort of scrappy t-shirts and jeans and sort of getting stuck into things and whatever it is, I really enjoy it.
So basically, what you're saying is
sitting around,
like Maslow and in ancient India, you rise above just the physical thing, just above earning, just about in Hindi we say roti kapda makan, means just the food, the clothing, and the house. There's something in a job beyond all these basic needs, your internal satisfiers of how you're influencing other people, how you're interacting with people. I think the best form of prevention of depression is meeting people, interacting with them.
Yeah.
Well, even negatively, even if you go to your office and have a row, you got some purpose, instead of just sitting at home changing channels.
You say it, and you're right. Obviously, we wouldn't encourage people to row, but you're absolutely right, Doc. Right? That interaction,
that has some buzz in it.
It is human, right? Yes. It is very human, and we crave it. And the challenges, both mentally and physically, that we're experiencing across society are all related to our isolation, right? Are all related to this digital immersion world that we live in. I want to touch you, obviously, in a nice way, but I want to sort of sit and chat and have a gap shop and all of these type of things, right? Yes. And it's just natural. People, people used to go to the pubs, and those men, right? Because it's primarily men, and it was primarily white men, right, who used to go to a pub by themselves in an evening, right, like nigh on every day, and it was a routine, right, and they had a purpose. They meet up with other men. They were able to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, right? Now, a lot of that has just gone by the wayside. It doesn't happen. All the pubs are closed down. The sort of banks turned into pubs, and then the pubs turned into coffee shops, and now they're turned into whatever it is. It's like
charity shops.
Yeah.
But I must say, Gosford pubs are thriving.
Good. No, because, look, and congratulations, Doc. I'd like to publicly acknowledge your contribution and your fastedness in sort of getting the bollards removed from Gosford High Street, right? As in, people will not necessarily appreciate or even be aware of the length that you went to in highlighting the pain that these bollards created. And what a waste. What an
They're so
absolute
ugly, you know, they make you feel that it's a temporary thing. They're so orange and so visible, right? Like you're looking at me and talking to me, and I have my fingers up just like the bollards. It's quite disconcerting. Nobody liked them. Nobody liked them, you know. Nobody.
Yeah.
So, you know, I went around getting what are called wet signatures. Over
Right.
3 weeks, we got 901 signatures, knocking on doors, getting to know people. But, you know, the pleasure in that is the contact with humans. I loved being a GP. You know, I lived upstairs and worked downstairs. Nobody bothers you. English people are shy, if anything, diffident.
Yeah.
Unlike many other countries where if you're the doctor, they walk into your house. 4 people knocked on my door in 35 years. 4. None of them were silly, you know. Someone on Linden Road, which is like 200 yards down, is dying of cancer. And the son comes and says, Doc, can you come and give the injection? I said, what about the nursing service? They said, it'll take 2 hours. We have this experience. We ring them, then they'll ring Manchester, then the phone will come through. I said, okay, I'm coming. And in my pajamas, seriously, I'm dressing down. I walk down the road. I'll remember that till my dying day. You do some little goodness to people and they remember it. And these are job satisfiers, aren't they?
Oh, it's the little things.
Little things that you do for
Doc, yeah, I'll tell you what was one of the, someone sent me a message, right, on LinkedIn about a couple of months back. And when I got it, I started reading it. And I remember I was sat next to my wife. It was a Friday night. And I'm not going to read it out. But anyway, this message went something like, oh, hi, I just wanted to reach out and just say, you know, what a wonderful person you are, and da-di-da-di-da, and all of this. And I'm reading it, and I'm chuckling at it. And then in the middle of it, this person had said they'd contemplated suicide.
Oh my God.
And they then reflected, they had been contemplating that for quite some time, and came to one of my speeches, one of the things that I done last year or earlier this year, whenever it was. And that speech made them think of like themselves and how that allegedly had stopped them from committing suicide and changed their perspective. And even now I get slightly emotional about it, right? Because when I got it, I was like, my initial reaction was a bit like, oh, like someone said, isn't that lovely? And when I went through it and they explained the trials and tribulations and things like that and all of that, I broke down in tears.
Because it touched you very deeply. It touched you at
Not
the core of your heart.
not because of anything that I felt as if I had done, and certainly this is far from it, you know, as in it's, gosh, anybody feeling that dramatic or that traumatized, it's themselves that need to sort of, you know, overcome that with some support. And sometimes it's the littlest of things, you know. Certainly I didn't set out to save someone's life, but it was like, honestly, that has had one of the most impressionable things on me in my life. Nothing to do with I done that, far from it, right? More that somebody got something from it, right? It's absolutely nothing to do with me. Of course, I felt like, oh my gosh, isn't that wonderful that, you know, that through this conversation, through that power of connection, something that led to something that dramatic, but more the fact that, you know, someone felt like they did, yes, which was like so painful, so painful. And do you know what, Doc? We're brushing suicide under the carpet, right? Of course, I am not a statistician, or I don't have the research to back up half of the things that are my simple views. But partly, so you know, a lot of that is that going back to that connection, right? People. So going back to, you know, 3 or 4 people coming to you, you know, they'll never forget that, Doc. You know, they will never forget that. You will never forget that. And my intention was never to share that story with anyone online, and certainly I would never go into any more detail or whatever it is. And I purposefully didn't want to share it, but it was one of those most impressionable things. And simply through connecting with someone. This was a stranger, by the way. I up until this point didn't know them. They sent me this huge message.
15 years ago,
15 years ago.
Yes, that was a phone call from Daniel Holland from the Journal, but you're far more important.
Okay.
So yeah, 15 years ago today, my son committed suicide. My own son, just today, 23rd. But you know, by being on radio and talking to people like you and talking to others, you can cope with it. If you keep quiet, can you imagine how painful that would be? And you and I are very similar extrovert people who share very personal things. And that too.
Do.
And the point of that is, then there's nothing to hide, you know. And it makes it ordinary for other people to talk about it instead of just doing, oh, it's terrible, I can't talk. It's terrible, I shouldn't talk. It's terrible, what will people say? Well, open your heart to people. Open your heart to people. And I'm talking about...
I think we need to create more spaces, more places for people to feel comfortable. Right? The sad state of affairs, though, Doc, right now is people remain very vulnerable, you know, and we live in a society where everybody has an opinion and everybody wants to be offended, right?
Yes, wants to be offended.
Everybody.
It's a great sport, isn't it?
It's like, all right, that person hasn't offended me. What can I do that would, so because they haven't offended me, I'm offended at that. And we live in a purely offensive society where everyone is just so aggravated, right? Everyone is looking to be offended because we've normalized people being offended.
So why don't you and I get offended? When people say something, we either take it with a pinch of salt or we say, oh, he's having a bad day. But
well, actually, Doc, you know, as in, I suppose being very thick-skinned helps, but that doesn't mean
you have developed a thick skin. You were not born with one. Nobody's born with.
Of course not. Of course not.
So life's difficulties have, as the Germans say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, and there is an element of that, right? If you look at vaccines, that's exactly the same principle.
Exactly.
So let's just very briefly on that point. That is not to say that I'm not sensitive or that I don't get offended. I simply choose not to be looking out to get offended. And there's a big difference, Doc, right? Because now people are sat there, somebody says something, and everybody feels obligated to have a view, have an opinion. You know, actually, unless you're going to add some value to a dialogue or a conversation, don't say it, don't do it.
Well, Ammar, the other thing is, you know, lots of bad things are happening in the world. Do you have to keep sharing it and rubbing it in each other's faces? And why not share anything positive and good, which is not so attractive somehow? I don't know why. I think positive things are more attractive to me than knowing about what's going on in Leicester. I know what's going on, but if I can make Newcastle a better place and immunize it against similar stupidity, wouldn't I do it? Wouldn't you do it?
Well, actually, Doc, the challenge in a lot of society, you know, the biggest problem in our society is people, right? Full stop, right? It's the thing.
So that's a quote of the year. The problem in our society, it involves people. Oh, what a shame. The problem with migraine is you got a head.
Well, of course it is, right?
So basic.
Simplified it, took it down to a level where you can understand.
So how do you, I can tell you how I do it. How do you keep yourself away from negative people who are perpetually moaning, getting offended, being racist subtly, being offensive subtly, or saying, oh, the world is coming to an end? How do you manage that? You meet millions of people, hundreds at least per week.
I don't get involved. I probably insulate myself, and at times talking very honestly, and appreciate this is recorded and broadcast and things like that. Sometimes I may be a coward, Doc, right? In that I possibly should speak out at times because there's, you know, there's discrimination or there's something not right. And because of the potential impact of getting involved, right, you feel, right, well, actually, you know what, I don't want to get involved in this. Like one thing, I have a principle, right, other than violence, if two people are arguing, and in particular, if two people are in a relationship arguing, I tend not to interfere.
Makes two of us. Same here.
Because by doing so, you will have to take a side. And you will, as soon as you take a side, because you'll say, well, actually, that person's got a point, and that person's got a point, and they're going, whatever it is. What you find yourself in is in the midst of relationships that naturally have peaks and troughs and all of that. And by interfering and having a view in those relationships, inevitably, what happens is you're nailing your sort of flag on a mast type thing, your position. And then those individuals end up getting back together, or they end up like.
And then you are the bad guy.
Oh, the bad guy, right?
Yeah, he said this.
Oh, he said
1% of things that they didn't like, they'll tell each other, because that brings them together. So you become the common enemy.
So you know, that's a point of principle. The second thing is, I do speak out when I believe that I can do or change something.
Yes.
Right.
When you have an influence and you can.
If I'm simply speaking out for the sake of speaking out, and the other thing is, in speaking out, Doc, there are always two sides. Let's just like look at, you know, Leicester as a controversial example, right? Yep. As in, and it is just crazy that a community from the same place in the world is at loggerheads with each other, you know, and some of the views people are making just because, for no other reason than to aggravate, right, I've got a view, you know, on a tango de vicerati, you know, is the thing. They put the tongue in there, they put the leg in.
The leg in.
They trip people up and whatever else, you know, is the thing. Anyway, the point is, you know, I tend to, and I want to, like you, concentrate on the positives, right? Because everyone's got pains. I've got pains. I've got like suffering. I've got like, you know, as in trials and tribulations.
So why spread it? Why spread it here as well? Yes.
Well, for me, a problem shared is a problem shared. It's not a problem halved. You're just burdening someone else. You know, but if you're looking for a solution, so the contradictory aspect of that is, if you're looking for a solution and need some advice, so if you can't solve a problem, then it is absolutely critical to seek help, right? And one of the things that I love trying to do, because I can't do it all of the time, is to help people solve problems. Right? I've always been a problem solver.
Yes, you like solving things, whatever they are.
And with a positive outcome is what is important.
But often people will burden you with a problem, but they don't want the solution because they enjoy the wound picking. They got a wound and they like picking it.
Well, it's like people with chips on their shoulders and things like this, right? As in, oh, I've got a chip on my shoulder. And it's like,
enjoy.
You know, as in, do you want some sauce? Salt and vinegar.
My mother used to say in Hindi, so to hai, means that it is, means don't get involved. It's a fact of life. Unless you can make it better, stay off.
And I say exactly the same thing. It is what it is.
Yes.
So to hai.
I have an opinion. So to hai.
It is what it is.
Yes.
So whatever it is that. So
I agree with you. It is that. But why are you looking to me? I mean, there are times if the couple come to you with honesty and say, like as if you're a judge or a mediator properly, and both of them are there. But the problem often happens, each one is trying to score on the other. Neither party is willing to give up. Neither party has the ultimate aim of making up, whether it's friends, couples, companies. I mean, you deal more with business. If there are two companies and they come to you in honesty,
yes,
and then you can say,
and if there is a genuine issue or challenge, right, that can be solved. So I always explore, it's always got to be a win-win, right?
yes,
it has to be, because there's always two sides to every single story.
anything, whether it's Ukraine or Leicester or India, Pakistan, it doesn't matter. There's always two sides. Yes.
We don't know what we don't know. So honesty, transparency, all of those things are absolutely critical. And it's a sad state of affairs, going back to the point, and I'm going to pause this conversation or stop it, because I just don't like negative conversations. Is the fact, Doc, that people are now going out of their way to be offended, right?
Yes.
People are looking for to make complaints. People are looking. We live in a society of, sadly, one where everyone is now litigious. It's like, oh, you said this, I'm going to take you to court. It's like, you published this in the paper, you put a new letter from my father, and I'm the princess. So you don't, you sent a tweet, and I'm a football wife. I said, I'm going to be offended, and I'm going to waste millions of pounds. It's just crazy.
Aren't there better things to be doing with your time than getting offended?
It is crazy. Anyway, headlines of the week. So we, Martha, before we come on to the ABC dinners, which is becoming very exciting.
Yes.
I'm very excited, Doc. And
well, I think this year, I think we've all begun earlier. We're all planning earlier. We are more together doing it. I'm enjoying the process. I really am.
And thank you ever so much for your continued support and commitment.
I got another table fixed last night. I'll tell you outside of the conversation.
So the headlines this week are: Liz Truss accuses Vladimir Putin of saber rattling. As I say, we don't have a view on that. No. The Eurovision, that'll be a big deal, Doc, if Newcastle get the Eurovision.
Yeah, that will be absolutely phenomenal.
And Newcastle Restaurant Week generated £1.5 million in a week for all of the restaurants, which is a great initiative. And I know that you regularly support all of these type of campaigns through your independent views and such like. The business topic of the week, Doc, is recruitment, because every single business and organization is struggling, right?
Right. Can I point out that 2 days after the Queen had died was to be our fair, our jobs and skills fair at the Trinity Center, the church. Sadly, we had to cancel it, but we are now holding it on the 29th of October.
Right.
29th October, we are holding that. And you and I like people being engaged in jobs, like people enjoying jobs. So it is a very important part of life to help people get into jobs. Any job. I mean, it's better than sitting at home, You get some experience. I tell young students, go and just work in the bar, just do something. Don't sit at home. Feel proud of the 10 pounds or 6 pounds or whatever per hour you're bringing. And take your parents out for a dinner, Give them something back. And the kids really love it, They really feel, oh my God, I'm important.
Yeah.
My own son has...
It's a sense of worth, isn't it, Doc?
Yes. And when I used to be a doctor, there used to be people who are mentally not so advanced. So they worked at the Welford Center next to the Jubilee pub. And that is for people to keep them engaged. And I would say to the patient, the person who's not fully 100% IQ-wise, and I say, well, you come on Thursday. No, man, I've got a job to do. I said, where? Every Thursday I go to the Welford Center. You see the joy and the pride in that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Making brushes and things like that. It's making people
it's a sense of
value.
purpose.
Yes.
Sense of purpose.
Yes. I matter.
You should have, motivation requires a motive,
Yes.
right? Motivation, to be motivated, you need to have a motive why you're doing it.
And often people find that when they've retired because they went into a job just to earn a living.
Yes.
I mean, you've changed so many courses in your younger life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
well, even now, I still don't know what I want to do. You're laughing?
No, you've done so much and still you don't know what the hell you're looking
I don't know. Generally, I'm sat here still going, what is it that I really want to do?
What am I about?
My purpose and my principles are to add value, and fix things and make them better. And by having such a simple purpose and those principles, so if I can't add value with something or in something, I don't get involved. But by having that broad range, do you know what it allows me to do, Doc? Is live like 20 lifetimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So I get up and I go, right, today I'm looking at an international space station at the airport. I'm delivering an accelerator program. I'm supporting this charity. I'm doing, as in every single day is dynamic. It's different. There is no same day that I get up and do exactly the same thing. And as a consequence, yes, of course, it's like stretching, it's challenging, but it's really rewarding because I love learning and I learn about so many things. And the opportunities I get is all about learning. So I never go into a room and say, let me tell you what you should do. I go into a room and say, what is it that you do? And what is it that you'd like to do? And what's holding you back? And what's driving you forward?
Yes.
Those type of things.
So very honest and basics, not kind of fudging over the issue, not kind of doing kind of what everyone else does. You're always looking for an inventive, what in Hindi we call jugaad, means finding a little invention that changes everything.
Well, it's more that 90% of the time, people know exactly what to do. They simply don't have the motivation or the encouragement to do it.
Or even the courage, if I do this, what will people say?
If I fail,
what will my next door neighbors say? Yeah. So the locus of control is always given over to society rather than in your own being.
Oh, undoubtedly. And it's wonderful to see so many other individuals and organizations waking up. One of the things that COVID done, it encouraged more of a lifestyle economy, a passion economy where people said, you know what, I love making cakes. I've been sat in an office, I've been going to a factory all these years and I don't like doing it. I like making cakes. So I want to make something and I just want to do something and I want to be my own boss and things like that. So coming back to this recruitment topic, here are some of our best tips for recruitment in small businesses. So highlighting your brand properly and successfully shows job hunters why your small business is the one to join and helps attract the right people for your job openings. Start by including your mission and vision in the job ad. What is your company all about? What is it that you do? Applicants need to see that their values align with those of your company. If you want to reach the most qualified candidates for the job opening, you need to cast a wide net. The bigger the pool of candidates you have to sift through, the higher the chances of hiring the right person for the role. It's essential to know how to make an offer that applicants will find difficult to refuse as part of your recruitment strategies. Find out what the median pay is for your area so you have an idea of what your offer should be. Try networking to meet good candidates or get recommendations from people you trust. So there's some top tips only because...
Yeah, I mean, there's very strong bullet points. I mean,
it's just about, people understanding that one of the biggest challenges everybody's talking about is their inability to recruit. So that was some top tips. as our business topic of the week. So, Doc, coming back onto the ABC Awards, let me
Indeed.
see where we are.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Well, let me first of all, because it's video, show everyone the award I got last year, and I am so proud of it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And you know, nothing came into it except the truth. You know, so Veena Soni and I got this inclusivity award, and you know, I hold it close to my heart because I do want to connect people. I do like connecting people.
Yeah.
You know, we had the Queen's celebration of her life at the temple, and I was quite tired. I was going home. And then Amit Bhanda said, Doc, are you not coming to Spice? And I was so tired. My answer would have been no. I almost said no. And I said, okay. And you get another gush of energy. And I was there another 3 hours. I mean, that's how it happens, isn't it? When you meet people who are doing things, you get pulled along and suddenly say, hey, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Get into the spirit of it. And then you're there with Sanam and Yawar and Yakub and having and Sandra English for the court thing. And speaking on that topic for the Pakistan floods.
Yeah, so tell me, Doc, tell me what's been going on, because you've been doing some wonderful things
I've been quite involved.
Few weeks, haven't you? So you hosted, about 2 weeks ago, you hosted something at the temple, which was
the Indians in particular, but the Southeast Asians thanking the local population for receiving us with open arms. I thought it was important to say thank you because the Northeast, don't you think, is particularly very open-armed, a bit like the angel, you know, 54 meters wide, you know, with open arms and 20 meters high, saying, here I am come. I didn't like the angel initially, but when I see it like that, it's quite, 90,000 people see it per day, you know. So the Northeast has something very special, and and I think it's an island within an island, you know, away from Leeds, away from Glasgow, away from Carlisle. We are a small little group with our own difficulties and our own natural resources of human beings. So that's what we did in the temple. And more recently, a week Sunday, we did a thing for the Queen to celebrate her life. And there were lots of people, lots of Lord Lieutenants, lots of people who came, and there was prayers and offering flowers to her picture. And everyone was there. Iram Ali was there. Chion Wura was there, and I had a good conversation with them, you know, though I don't belong to their party, but it's people coming together. And the Queen was such a special person. She had no airs and graces. She was light touched, you know, and her smile. So I really enjoyed that process. And, you know, I filmed the whole thing. Next day, I downloaded it, cut the pieces, put it out, sent it again. You know, those little things matter to people. It's like a family album. They can look at it again and again and say, oh, that was nice, that was nice. So that's happened. But 6 weeks ago, you know, I've got connections in Pakistan. I've got a cattle farm with my friends in Tando Alahyar, near in Sindh. So we raised about 700 pounds and sent it to when it started in Balochistan. That's where the flood started.
Right.
And we got contacts there. So instead of going through proper channels and government machinery, we send it to people who we know, and they send you back videos of where they've been, what they've given.
Isn't that wonderful?
You know, it's actually a live thing. And then the Pakistan Cultural Society started working on it, and a chap called Raja Khan, a fellow conservative, if I may mention that word, he's doing a dinner on Sunday. So he's got a picture, and there's some musicians coming with Kashmiri type of music. So I took some 30 seconds of music, put that thing down, and sent him a bit. Very, very interestingly, let me see what the name is. There's a girl who rang me last night and said, Doc, you might be the best person to help me. I said, what can I do for you? She says, what's her name now? Anyway, she said, can you make...
Wonderful.
जी मुझे आपको बताते हुए बेहद खुशी हो रही है कि न्यूकासल में एक दिवाली और करवा चौथ का शॉपिंग करना है. उसका नाम है न्यूकासल बाजार. Please contact Maria Faizan 0747831661.
So Maria Faizan, obviously not a Hindu, is celebrating Diwali. Now, these kind of things deeply touch me.
Uh,
It touches me because, in Newcastle, we are not that divided, we are quite,
no, we're not.
we are
not.
very connected. And it gives me such a pleasure to be involved with Pakistan floods. There are people dying, how do I care which country, the children floating, dead bodies of children floating. I've seen that. It really disturbs you, I mean, life is
It is. Well, if
cozy.
you think about it, innocent, right? So we have control as adults. We have an element of control in our lives.
Yes.
Right? There are an element of choices. Admittedly, not everybody has the same choices because of their environmental factors. If I live somewhere where I have nothing, I have nothing. But as an adult, I have the option or potential to go somewhere and work or generate something or whatever it is. It is the poor, sad, shocking innocence of children.
Yes.
That we need to consider. And it is without a doubt the most saddest thing to see. Whether that was these migrants and immigrants washing up on the shores of Greece and Spain, wherever it was, whether it was those visual things, whether it was children in Ukraine, whatever it was happening, whether it was Africa, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, all of these places and spaces, right? It's like, it's the children that are suffering the most, and the pain and suffering. I remember mum feeding us and going hungry, right? As in, some of my memories were very much around mum feeding us, and I knew she was going hungry, so it was like, and that was so hard for a child, but that was a choice, as in, it was like to see your sons and daughters, to see your, sort of anyone suffering is heartbreaking.
Yes.
As a humanity, it is absolutely critical for us to support those that are less well off, in particular those that are suffering. As in, it is so sad, Doc, so sad. And for me, it's even here, right? Of course, it's right to support people globally and where you've got heritage and history. But for me, whether that's been the pie charities or whether that's been
I was thinking about the pie exactly now.
Where we've given young people who haven't never got the opportunity to experience enterprise, to earn some money, the parents come along, they get involved, the parents get new skills. Going back to what is the biggest thing that you can do for anybody is give them the opportunities. But enable them to seek those opportunities themselves. Give them the courage and conviction that enables them to say, I don't need to accept my environment. I don't need to accept what's around me. And then for those that are suffering, we should be supporting them, right? As in, look, gosh, Doc, the most precious commodity, and of course I can sit here and go, give lots of charity and whatever else. My precious, most precious, irrecoverable commodity is my time.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? As with you, right? And over the last 2 decades, unreservedly given away 50% of my time. And people sit there and go, why do you do it? There must be some ulterior motive, right? Where you must be getting something for it. People then go, well, how does he live the lifestyle that he's got if he only works 50% of the time, right? It's because I'm a firm believer in what goes around comes around, Doc.
Yes.
It's nice to be nice. And, I'm fortunate to have lived 20 lifetimes. So having experienced all of those things, you know how to overcome things, as in what does become tiresome is this constant fight or flight, right? You're either fighting.
Being in a stressed mode, yes.
Constantly. And all of us are experiencing that, right? We're either fighting somewhere or we're running away from it. We're burying our head or we're arguing. So that peace that thing that you advocate so significantly and so critically is that you need to find your inner peace, right?
Yes.
You need to meditate. You need to be happy with yourself. And
you have to like yourself and your own company as well. But somebody said to me 3 days, don't you get bored? I said, no, I like my own company as well.
yeah, I love my own company. I love my own company.
Yeah.
It was funny, I went through a period of time where I just used to love being by myself.
Yes.
And even now, I don't think that anyone should be embarrassed to say, I like my
I
own
like
space.
myself.
Look at me. Is the thing. Yeah. But anyway, in all seriousness and in all honesty, the one thing that is really important is alongside tackling all of these
Somebody's ringing the doorbell. Can I answer the door, please?
No. Okay.
Great. It might be.
Yes, and there is Doc, and he's gone out of the room. So thinking and talking about the Asian Business Connections dinner, 20th of October, excuse me. And we have a wonderful collection and selection of partners. We have Gainford Group, the Academic Health Science Network, Northeast LEP, Tees Valley Business Hub, Newcastle University, Nearby, Asian Standard, Yaba, Spice FM, SME Center of Excellence, and Navaba. They're all proudly partner of our dinner. And check out the website, which is, excuse me, everyone must have got a real fright. Imagine you're driving along, listening to the radio show, and someone said to me, "You've got a fantastic sneeze." I don't think they were being complimentary, Doc, is what they were saying. There was almost that suggestion of, and I realized that it's a very dramatic sneeze. And I apologize to our listeners who probably jumped out of their skin as they were listening to me in mid-speech, and all of a sudden
in Arabia, if you belch after having the food, it's a sign of respect.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And it is a sign of appreciation of the food.
Yes.
And is what it is. So it's interesting, isn't it, that in every religion, sneezing, there's a blessing that follows it.
Yes.
In every religion, because it was always associated with death.
Yes. And then, like the black fever in London,
like the black
tissue we all fall down.
And all of those things. Yeah. So I was talking about it's critical to address some of the challenges, Doc, that exist in the globe. But equally important is the opportunity to celebrate one another.
Yes.
Right? We don't do enough of it. Full stop. So I was absolutely thrilled and delighted when you were recognized for your significant and sustained contribution last year at the awards. Now nearing 100 nominations for this year's awards. It is fantastic. And it's, something that we want to encourage. And that is why the nominations are actually staying open for another 2 weeks, because the judging will take place right in the final week with the awards created and everything else. So that gives everybody the opportunity to nominate. So if you're listening, you deserve an award, somebody else who deserves an award, please acknowledge them. Do something.
All you've got to do is to go on the abconnections.org.uk site. And it's such a simple form, just your name, email, phone, and why you're nominating so-and-so. Just tell us.
Please.
It's a very simple form, yes.
It's a very simple form, and it can make such a big difference to somebody's life.
Yes.
So stop sitting around, we're looking to be offended, and start looking around.
Yeah, I mean, about
and
4 years
being-
ago, I couldn't believe that somebody couldn't live without a television. I'll show you.
Really
That's the television. It hasn't come.
fantastic.
It's never come on for 4 years.
Well done.
Because,
What's that got to do? What's that got to do with
I'm
the
just saying,
conversation?
stop, instead of just sitting watching television, be the television, is what
Oh,
I'm
right, okay. No, so I was about to say, stop being offended and looking to be offended,
Yes.
and start commending others, not offending, commending, and encourage people to see the good in everybody. It's
Yes.
so important, right? And let's come together. Look, if anybody, we're going to dock through your channels. We're going to give away a few tickets on Spice FM and things like this. You know what a wonderful celebration it is, right? It's one of the best nights here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And this year is bigger and better. There's more vibrancy. There's more people involved. So we're going to be giving away some of these tickets. They're worth a lot of money because we want to open up the opportunity to people who may not otherwise get the opportunity to come and celebrate. So, we're going to be choosing anyone who's nominating other people. There'll be a few of those that'll be invited along. Obviously, all of the people who are shortlisted will be invited along. And as a bare minimum, seeing your name in lights, being recognized by your fellow community and dignitaries, business leaders, community leaders is a big deal.
Yes.
And then we have the Spice FM People's Award as well, which is a big deal.
So basically, you're creating that visibility for people who have done something. So you're encouraging that process subtly and openly, really. If someone has done some good work and you put them out there, they'll walk around with pride and say, "Hey, I saw you there. I saw you this. I saw you on the video. I saw you in the photograph. I saw you on the site. I saw you in the newspaper. I saw you in Asian Standard." So, it's like connecting people again. That's what you're doing, isn't it? This whole purpose of this big dinner, awards dinner, is to connect people, is to show up people, is to show off people, saying, these are the good guys. We need to celebrate them. And they promote further process of the same process. It's like a wave, isn't it?
Oh, well, look, Doc, so many people, right, who have got an award through ABC have then gone on to get like honours from the Queen,
Yes.
Our late Majesty, various other recognition.
Yes.
I mean, after Faria got
I was thinking of Faria myself. Yes.
Well, but Vickers, Gem Ops.
Yes.
He won an award several years ago. He then got an MBE, as in all of these people have been sort of recognized because it leads to that further, broader, wider recognition. So please support one another, get involved, come along, enjoy our celebrations. And Doc, thank you ever so much for your unwavering, continued support.
Well, I've known you about 12, 13 more years, and I've never found you boring. You're always doing something interesting, exciting, different, growing, and you inspire people.
Yeah, and as do you, Doc. As in, I genuinely appreciate and value, what you do, how you do it, your purpose, your heart, all of that for me is incredible, and it demonstrates what a beautiful person you are. So thank you for all you do.
And one more thing, on Sunday nights, I do this show from 9 to 11. It's only in English. So there's a part of it called Geordie Hero. You're certainly one of them. But I don't expect you to come to Spice FM at 9 in the night on a Sunday because you'd be having your beauty sleep by then. I know you're very particular about your sleep time. But if you have people who don't mind coming live on air, face to face.
Oh, let's do it. That's great. Let's encourage it.
It's a bit like this is your life kind of thing. And wonderful. I don't take any details. It just spontaneously flows, Wonderful. That's how I enjoy it best, that I know nothing about you. And when you come in, I know your name and that's it. And off you go. So please send me people.
I will. Thank you, Doc. Have a wonderful weekend and thank you for all you do. Doc, final point. Please share everything that's going on with us so
Yes.
we can put it in
Well,
the
everything that
newsletter.
comes, I put it on my Facebook.
All right, excellent. Okay, until next week, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye.